to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something truly incredible. We're going on this massive, almost cinematic journey from the overwhelming, totally untamed chaos of the natural world straight into the beautiful, highly structured order of scientific classification. Seriously, get ready, because we are going to be looking at the living world through a completely new lens.
I mean, just look at the intricate beauty of the seahorse. Whenever we look at extraordinary creatures like this and the habitats they live in, it just evokes this deep sense of awe, right? Maybe even a little bit of fear, but mostly just pure wonder. From galloping horses down to microscopic life, the sheer variety of forms out there, it literally leaves you speechless.
To really wrap our heads around the sheer scale of this biodiversity, we've got to look at this staggering number. Right now, there are between 1.7 to 1.8 million known and described species on our planet. Let that sink in for a second. 1.8 million. And here's the crazy part. That's just what we've found so far. As we keep exploring dense rainforests and diving into the deep oceans, that number just keeps growing.
So faced with this overwhelming diversity, spread out across freezing cold mountains, deep forests, and boiling hot springs, we kind of have to hit pause. We have to ask a really fundamental question. Not just, what is life? How do we differentiate the living from the non-living? But how on earth do we actually organize, study, and make sense of it all without getting completely lost in the chaos?
Section 1. Naming the chaos. So let's dive right into our first major milestone, figuring out exactly how scientists took this totally unmanageable, chaotic abundance of life and actually brought some rigid, universally accepted order to it. Now, a key architect behind all this incredible order was Ernst Mayr. You might know him as the Darwin of the 20th century. He was this legendary Harvard evolutionary biologist who literally pioneered the definition of a biological species that we still use today. And his impact? Absolutely monumental. It's often said that he almost single-handedly made the origin of species diversity the central question of evolutionary biology. Over a career that spanned nearly 80 years, Mayr's work deeply humbled humanity. He revealed this profound truth that all present-day living organisms are connected. We share these fundamental similarities, spreading horizontally across the entire planet and reaching vertically back through time. Which brings us to systematics and taxonomy. Now, hold on. I know these sound like dry textbook terms, but they really aren't. They're actually these dynamic, rigorous, scientific processes that we use to characterize, identify, and classify literally every living thing. Systematics, which actually comes from the Latin word systema, it doesn't just put things in boxes. It looks super closely at the evolutionary relationships between organisms to build a true, meaningful sense of order.
But as early taxonomists got to work, they ran into a massive, glaring problem. Local names for plants and animals changed from town to town, let alone from country to country. So how could the global scientific community possibly communicate without it turning into complete chaos? Think about it. How do you ensure that a scientist in India and a scientist in Germany know for an absolute fact that they are talking about the exact same mango?
Well, the brilliant solution was binomial nomenclature. This was a universal, incredibly elegant, two-word naming system formalized by Carolus Linnaeus. By giving every single organism one unique, mathematically precise scientific name, Linnaeus basically erased global language barriers overnight. A total game-changer. Now, to maintain that strict global consistency, this elegant naming system relies on a few unbreakable rules. Whether you're naming that mango, Mangifera indica, or a human, Homo sapiens, the name is always Latinized. The first word is the genus, and that always starts with a capital letter. The second word is the specific epithet, or the species, and that stays in lowercase. Oh, and here's a quick tip for your exams. If you're ever writing these names out by hand, always remember to separately underline both words. Section 2, the taxonomic hierarchy. So now that we know exactly how to name these organisms universally, let's explore how we actually structure them by climbing the staircase of life.
I want you to picture taxonomic categories like a biological cosmic address. You know how you locate a house by zooming out? You start with a super specific street name, then zoom out to the city, the state, and finally the whole country. Well, taxonomy does the exact same thing. It zooms out from the intimate, detailed level of a single species all the way up to a massive biological kingdom. And every single step along the way represents a specific rank, or what we call a taxon.
Right at the foundational level of this cosmic address, we have the species. This is basically a group of individual organisms that share fundamental morphological similarities. Think of the sapiens and Homo sapiens, the Indica and Mangifera indica, or the Leo and Panthera leo. They represent distinct, closely related organisms at the absolute finest level of detail.
Taking one step up the staircase, we hit the genus. A genus basically groups those closely related species together. For example, lions, tigers, and leopards. They're all distinct species, right? But they share so many common features that they're all grouped together under the single genus Panthera.
Zooming out a bit further, we arrive at the family category. Families group related genera together, and they're characterized based on both vegetative and reproductive features. This right here is where we cleanly separate the cat family Felidae, which includes our Panthera lions and even your regular house cats, from the dog family, which sits completely over in Canidae.
As we keep climbing up through order, class, and phylum, or division if we're talking about plants, something really important happens. Notice that as you go higher up the ladder, the number of common characteristics actually goes down, while the complexity of classifying them goes way up. An order, for instance, brings together families that only share a few similar characters, and that trend just continues up the chain.
And finally, we reach the ultimate rank, the kingdom, the very top of our cosmic address. Up here, all of that incredible diversity we've been talking about is distinctly categorized into these massive, sweeping domains. Every single animal, from a tiny microscopic insect all the way up to a massive blue whale, falls under Kingdom Animalia. Meanwhile, all plants sit perfectly within Kingdom Plantae. When you track an organism's full cosmic address like this, it literally turns the overwhelming chaos of nature into pure readable data. You can trace the exact taxonomic journey of man, starting down at genus Homo and climbing all the way up to phylum Chordata. Or you can track the mango, rising up from Mangifera all the way to Angiospermae. It's just a beautifully organized system.
Section 3, chapter recap and takeaways. All right, let's lock in everything we've discovered on this amazing journey. Time for a high-impact, rapid-fire revision of the absolute core concepts you're going to need for your exams.
Consider this your ultimate cheat sheet. First, remember the staggering scale of biodiversity. 1.7 to 1.8 million described species. That's huge. Second, never forget the international codes that govern scientific naming, the ICBN for plants and the ICCN for animals. Third, keep Linnaeus's binomial nomenclature rules totally locked in. And finally, make sure you can rattle off the exact ascending order of the taxonomic hierarchy, all the way from species right up to kingdom. We're going to leave you with this final kind of thrilling thought. Classification? It's not a finished book. It's a constantly evolving hierarchy. With millions of incredible organisms still hiding out in deep oceans and dense rainforests, completely unidentified, how are tomorrow's breathtaking discoveries going to fundamentally reshape our understanding of the living world? Honestly, think about that the next time you step outside. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, keep exploring.